Hello everyone. I've decided to come on and make this video because actually I made a poll on my Instagram yesterday or 2 days ago, something like that, and I asked people to tell me their questions about what my thoughts are about chemo and cancer after having gone through treatment. And someone told me to get over it. And my initial reaction was to get upset. And I was like, why could someone say something so insensitive? But then I sat back and I was like, these people, they don't know what this is. You can't really understand something as complex and as life-changing as chemotherapy and cancer unless it happens to you and unless you have to go through it. Like, my expectations and the reality, even from 5 months ago, are completely different. And I even can relate to this in a way, because actually a good example is when I was in the emergency room when my cardiologist sent me to the ER the first time before I was diagnosed or anything. She said, go, whatever. I went, and I was sitting there talking to my mom, and I was coughing lightly, so a nurse came up to me and she gave me a mask. And I just looked at the mask and I shrugged and I was like, whatever, I'm not sick, I'm not gonna wear this. And now I am the first advocate to tell you to wear a freaking mask. So I just think that sometimes in life you just have to go through certain experiences to believe a certain way or to think a certain way, and that is really messed up, but that's just the reality of things. So I just wanted to come on here and talk about why are cancer patients so anxious all the time, even after the treatment's over. And there's no short answer to this. It's a bunch of things. Like, for me, I know for everyone it's different, and I've spoken to a lot of people, but there seems to be a common theme, and that is that when you first get your diagnosis, you're shocked or you're really sad about it, but you're not you can be scared, but you're not really you walk into your first PET scan and you're not anticipating anything, you're just doing it to do it. You don't know what to expect. You don't even know much about what you have, chances are. So you're just there and you're doing all these things. I remember going into my first PET scan and I was just happy to do it. I was just happy to get diagnostic tests over with before I started my treatment. So there was no anxiety there. It was just all just waiting for everything to be over with, honestly, because at that point I just wanted to get back to my normal life so much, and doing that was just another step in getting it done with and over with. And honestly, I really wish that I had that mentality through the rest of my treatment and even now, but I don't. Right now, if you go watch the first video I ever posted where I said I had cancer, I sounded so yeah, I have cancer, but I'll get over it and I'll be back. I definitely don't have that mindset anymore. It for me, at least, at some point it just becomes I'm just waiting for the next scan, and I'm just waiting to hear the bad news. You become more pessimistic when you should be becoming more optimistic as time goes on, it seems. But yeah, when you get your first scans and stuff, you don't expect anything, but then your doctors kind of hint that there's certain expectations of you. By your midway scan, they say many people have negative scans, they don't have any cancer show up, and if you still do have some, like I did, you kind of think of yourself oh my god, is my treatment failing? Is my treatment not good enough for me? Is it not strong enough? And in many cases, like in my case, they already give you the strongest available treatment that they can give you as induction treatment, as for frontline therapy. So you're just there what can I do now? And then the worries begin. And then you're is my treatment not working? Is my tumor growing even though I'm getting all this chemo? Am I going to die? I think the question, am I going to die, is just what's fueling all these thoughts. It's just our crazy fear of death and the stigma that's associated around cancer, which is another video all in itself. But we're just so wired to think that we got this diagnosis and we could die that we're worried that if something goes wrong, that's it for us. And I just think that's such a primitive instinct, but in times like this, your fight or flight really freaking takes over. So it's really hard for someone with cancer or a recent history of cancer to just be calm. There's nothing calm about this whole process, like once a week you're going to the doctor, twice a week sometimes even, to get your blood checked. You're around doctors, you're in doctors' offices all the time. They say you have to relax and rest when you're during treatment, but there's no resting and relaxing. You're really just in and out of doctor's offices, in and out of appointments, in and out of blood work. There's just no time to rest and relax. Now, another thing is, especially with the end of treatment, when we first begin treatment, we all envision the end of treatment being like this glorious party of, oh my god, I finished chemo, oh my god, this is great, this is beautiful. But in reality, that's not really how it is. In reality, for me at least, and from all the people I've spoken to, most of them, we just had this similar feeling of, I want to get this over with, but it's also a really gray area of, I don't know what the hell is going on, because now I won't be in treatment anymore. There won't be any active surveillance on me like there was. I'm kind of just being let go into the open. And what if my cancer relapses? It's going back to that fear of death and fear of something bad happening and you not being able to control it. Because honestly, with cancer, even in the beginning, the more you sit and think about it, the more you realize you had no control of this. You didn't choose to get this. It just came to get you. So what's stopping it from coming back and getting you? That's the whole mind trap with this, is that you just have no control. And for people like me, having no control is just unideal, subpar. Which is why I have such an issue with being on planes, such an issue with dying, such an issue with this, because I have no control. And yeah, you just have to put your faith fully into your treatment, into your doctors, which for some people comes easy, but for some others it does not. And yeah, for some people, as you learn more about your diagnosis, as you learn more about cancer in general, as you learn more about everything that's happening to you and what your scans really mean, like once you learn to study a PET scan and understand what the uptake values mean and all that stuff, and you see your scans at the beginning, you get terrified of how much disease your body can actually have, and you constantly fear even the slightest change or the slightest number in the wrong direction, and you start to question everything, like values in your blood work that you normally would just shrug off. You now begin to worry about. If your white blood cell count drops just a little more than you'd like, you start going into a full-blown panic because you just don't want to go back to being so sick. People tell you to get over it, but how can you get over it when you've just been brutally put through poison for all these months of your life, when you've lost your identity, when you look in the mirror and the person you see is just a skeleton, a ghost of what you used to be before? How can you tell someone to get over it when just 2 months ago they had not a single strand of hair on their freaking body? How can you do that? It's so easy for someone to just look at you and say, oh, get over it yourself. But it's such a slow process, mentally more so than physically. The mental game with cancer comes seriously at the end of treatment. I never felt so anxious and worried than I did during the waiting period between my 6th chemo and my PET scan. Never, ever. And especially with being young and, not having it being expected of you to get cancer at this age, I feel like we all kind of carry this sense of not even duty and responsibility, but we kind of want everyone else to believe that we're okay. We don't want other people to think that we're suffering or we're struggling or we're hurting. We don't want other people to see us be really sick, because for me personally, I feel like I'm letting people down if I don't, show how I really feel, how really sick I am. I feel like, it's not a disappointment, but I feel like people will just feel unnecessarily bad for me, or will think the worst, or will think that I'm dying. Well, that's not always the case, but again, there's such a stigma and people automatically associate cancer with death. So it's just really, really difficult to try to explain this to a person who's completely unrelated and knows nothing to the disease. It's so hard. But yeah, I want to conclude this saying that if you're blessed enough to know someone with cancer, don't shun them, open up to them, or ask them to open up to you rather, and really get to know what this person's going through, or try to understand to the best of your capability what it's like to go through this, because it's not nice to bottle stuff up. I can't bottle stuff up. I feel like a ticking time bomb when I'm anxious, and I know a lot of people also feel this way, and for a lot of people it's not easy to open up because just there's no understanding and there's no like grounds for conversation with a lot of people that they know. So yeah, if you have any questions, just please ask. Even ask me, even if it's for someone else or anything, just ask. That's the first step you can take to not being an idiot, because a lot of times people really do sound like idiots. And by the way, in the cancer community, we all hate people who are idiots. So yeah, what else did I want to say? Oh yes, 1 in 2 people will actually go through everything I just been through. Many will not get to the other side. So go to your doctor, get a checkup, do your cancer screenings. Don't be like me. Don't go bald. Goodbye.